Hello, my loves. I'm Laura Evelyn. If you don't already know me, I'm a psychic medium, an intuitive therapist, and life coach. And today I'm here to talk about our shadow self. What is our shadow self? Our shadow self is essentially very similar to the shadow that we see when we're standing out in the sun. It is the part of us that we hide away from. It's that dark side that only comes out when you shine a light on it. Just like when the sun shines on our bodies, we see our shadows. So to hone in on our shadow self is to reveal the darkness within, that part of us that we hide from the rest of the world, that we don't talk about, that we try not to face, that emotional side of us that we are often too afraid to look at. And we don't need to be afraid to look at it. It is a part of us, and the sooner we accept that, the better. Essentially, our shadow self is the part of us that has deep-seated, unconscious beliefs, limiting beliefs, barriers, fears, doubt, anger, sadness, hurt, shame, guilt. All it really is a part of ourselves that just wants to be seen. Just wants to be heard, just wants to be loved, wants to be acknowledged, honored, respected, and supported, essentially. Why do we have a shadow self? Well, it's really just the toxic ego. We have an ego, and the ego is there to keep us safe. It is there to support us through making decisions that are safe for us. So without an ego, we would go and walk in front of a car without thinking anything of it. We might climb into a zoo enclosure with a lion. We are fearless without an ego. Our ego is our fear, but our fear is there to keep us safe. Picture this. We are in the caveman times and we go to a waterhole to have a drink, okay? And you've got your best friend with you, his name's Bill, and he's there with you, and you're both drinking out of this waterhole, and all of a sudden a crocodile jumps up, grabs Bill, pulls him in the waterhole, and you see it all unfold. How traumatic is that? You saw your best mate get eaten by a crocodile right in front of you at this waterhole. Okay, so your ego is like, oh my God, that waterhole is dangerous. I am never going to that waterhole again. I never want to see anything like that again. I'm so traumatized. I'm afraid. I don't want that to happen to me. I never want to feel this way again. So I'm just going to avoid that waterhole. So essentially, that is what our ego is there for. It is to keep us safe so that we avoid ever doing the same mistake twice. So in a world where we can go to the supermarket and buy our food and we can get our water from a tap, we aren't really in that much danger anymore. So instead of keeping us safe from real harm, our ego is just finding ways to become useful. It's like, well, I need a job. I live here. I'm part of you, and I need to keep you safe. So anytime I feel any sense of fear or feel like I'm being attacked, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to keep you safe so that doesn't happen again. And so because we aren't really in any immediate danger, it will cling on to little things. You're at the school triathlon and you're running, and little Jimmy in the crowd says, haha, you run like a loser. And you're like, oh my God, how embarrassing. Everyone's looking at me and everyone saw me running. Oh, that's just horrible. I'm never doing that again, right? So, you get to your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and, you have this desire to join a marathon or, get really fit or go for a run. You feel like it would be really nice to just go for a run. You see other people doing it. Your friends want you to come with them. And you're like, oh, but I really don't like running. But deep down, you're like, I wish I liked running. I really wish I liked running. Why don't I like running? And it's not until you realize that it's because of Jimmy in grade 2 that you actually have this unconscious fear of running. It's not the running that you're afraid of, it's what comes after the running. It's that shame and guilt that you had in grade 2. Now, does that still serve you, having that belief from grade 2? Or is it something that's held you back and limited you for all of these years? That is your shadow. That little dark side that you haven't considered, that you haven't really looked at. You've just made a decision. I'm not running again. That's it. I'm just going to ignore this. And now it's like, oh, I okay, I actually like running. It's only because of Jimmy in grade 2 that I decided not to run again. I forgot all about that. Like, my shadow showed me that, because I felt really emotional for a minute there. I felt really like, what the hell's wrong with me? Why don't I want to run? Like, I know I want to deep down. I just can't do it. Like, I just refuse to do it. Why? And it's not until the shadow shows itself, you shine a light on that shadow, you can finally see, you can shine a light on the problem, you can see the shadow. And it's like, it's holding on to this unconscious limiting belief, or this unconscious fear. Fear is the umbrella for shame, guilt, anger, sadness, hurt. All of those things come under the umbrella of fear. Everything else comes under the umbrella of love. So when we can shine love onto our fears, we can see our shadow, and we can help heal our shadow. We can help heal that inner part of us that is afraid of rejection, or of humiliation, or of pain, or suffering, or sadness, any of those things. Our shadow is really just a tool that we can use to understand ourselves better and to overcome our limitations, or our perceived limitations. So some people are afraid to do shadow work because it can be painful. It can be scary. It's like revisiting a ghost from the past. Some people, it can be so much more fearful because the experiences that they've had are so traumatic. They just never want to look at that. They just suppress it deep, deep down into their unconscious mind. They just will not look at it. They refuse to look at it. And then it just sits there and it manifests. And do you know what happens when something sits there for too long? If you push your emotions down and down and down and down, and you will not look at your shadow, you will just refuse to even give it the time of day, it is going to eventually bust out and just lose its shit. It's going to throw a temper tantrum. It is going to stomp its feet. It wants to be seen. It wants to be heard. It wants to be acknowledged, loved, valued, and honored. And so when you ignore your shadow self, it is going to manifest, it is going to stomp its feet, and those emotions will come to the surface at one point. So it's important to deal with it while you still have the cognitive capacity to handle those emotions. But if you let it get to a point where it's like, oh, it's just so much bubbled up energy boiling over the surface, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess. And that's where people have these really depressive episodes or these manic behaviors, because it's just like they've left it for so long, it's just accumulated out of hand. So it's really important that we work with our shadow as often as we can. How do we work with our shadow? Well, to work with our shadow, we need to acknowledge that it is a part of us, and it is a tool to help guide us towards healing. And when we are healed, we are whole. And when we are whole, we can actually invite in positive change and transformation and abundance. When we have a shadow lingering under the surface, it can really hinder our work. It can really hinder the way we feel about ourselves, the way we feel about our relationships, the way we feel about other people. We can become critical, we can judge, we can become critical of ourselves, we can become critical of others, we can be afraid to try new things or to step out of our comfort zone. We stay stuck, essentially. We just stay stuck in this same boundary condition that we've created for ourselves. We put our walls up and we just won't step out because we're afraid of what could happen or what won't happen. And this is just the shadow saying, hey, there's something left here to heal. Once you do that, once you heal that by shining love onto it and coming from a place of compassion and empathy and love and understanding and forgiveness for yourself and for others, you can finally release that shadow. You shine the love onto it, you shine the light onto it, and the shadow just dissolves away. You're not pushing it down, you're not suppressing it, you're honoring it. You're giving it that safe place to open up and to let go of what no longer serves you. How can we do that? You can come from a place of love, compassion, understanding, and forgiveness. Set the intention to just listen, to just be there, to support and to nurture your shadow. to come from a motherly energy, an energy of love and understanding, just as though if a child came up to you. If a child came up to you and they were having this meltdown, or they were really upset and they were showing all these emotions, would you push them away and say, no, I don't want to hear about it, get out of here, I'm not looking at you, you're disgusting, like, I'm ashamed of you, all these things? Like, would you do that to a child? No. So then don't do it to your shadow, because essentially your shadow is a combination of your inner child wounds and your wounds from all the experiences you've had since childhood. It can also be a manifestation of past life energies as well, karmic energies that you're here to resolve. So it's so important that we give our shadow that love and that understanding and that time to reveal itself and to express itself in the ways that it needs to in order to heal. When you're triggered, that is a sure sign that your shadow is coming forward with information for you. Anytime you're triggered by somebody else or by something you see on the news or something you hear or something you read, or you find yourself judging somebody and thinking, oh my God, I can't believe she did that. Anything like that, anything where you're judgy or you're humiliated, you're embarrassed, you're offended, you're angry, you're upset, any of those triggers trigger an emotional response within you, is your shadow coming forward like, hey, here you go, here's this gift. I want you to solve this little puzzle for me. Like, here's this puzzle. This is how you can solve it. You just need to work out where it stems from, where it grew from. Where did you get this personality trait? Where did you get this trigger? Where did you get this judgment? Whatever it is, you can look at that and assess it and be like, oh, I'm curious about this. Get curious, like really get curious about what the shadow is showing you. Don't judge it. Don't get angry at yourself. Don't get upset with yourself, because remember, you need to be nurturing with yourself. You need to be kind with yourself. You need to be forgiving of yourself and compassionate of yourself. Okay, so we don't want to be judging the shadow. We just want to come from a place of genuine curiosity. Okay, let's just say this. You are scrolling on Facebook and somebody puts a post up anonymously on a page that you follow saying, hi, I'm looking for advice. I've been cheating on my boyfriend for 2 months and I just don't know how to live with myself. I'm so ashamed. I regret everything that I've done and I just want to go back to the way things were, but I haven't told him and I can't live with the guilt and I can't even look him in the eyes and I'm just so ashamed and embarrassed, and what do I do, right? For example. And then you sit there like watching from the other side of the screen, reading this and being like, oh my God, you're disgusting. I can't even believe you would do that. Like, how dare you? And how dare you come on here and ask for advice? Like, you should just leave that relationship. How dare you? Like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, hang on a minute. I'm being really judgmental. I'm not in that situation. I don't know this person. I don't know what they've been through. I don't know what their partner's like. I don't know the whole story. I only know what I've read, and I know that that's really triggered me. I feel really triggered right now. I'm angry. I'm resentful. I'm mean. I'm nasty. I'm being very, very judgmental. Even though, they might deserve it. They might not. You just don't know. But all you know is that you are feeling triggered. What they've done is irrelevant. What you're feeling is what's relevant. And that's where you're like, oh, hang on a minute. That was interesting. I wonder where that came from. Like, obviously, we have societal views around cheating and relationships and monogamy, but this isn't about that. This is about you. What was fired off in you that gave you that sense, that reaction, that judgment, that anger? And it's like, okay, let's get curious about this. Could it be that, you've been cheated on, or that you cheated once before and you were so shameful and guilty about it that you couldn't live with yourself, so you left the relationship? Or could it be that, your parents, like one of them cheated and you found out about it and it had a massive effect on your life as a child? Is it something that you have watched on TV? Is it a limiting belief that you don't even really believe in? It's not really your belief at all. Like, you've just learnt it through your experiences, through your programming, through your conditioning. You know, you just don't know where it comes from until you look at it. And that's why I say come from a place of love, compassion, and forgiveness and understanding for yourself, because sometimes the triggers are within as well. You might get triggered by something someone says about you. Someone might say, oh, you look really tired today. Are you okay? And it's like, oh, no, Becky, I'm just not wearing any makeup today. So, and then you go home and think, what a fucking bitch. I feel so insecure right now. I can't believe she said that to me. And then it's like, okay, hang on a minute. All she did was ask you if you're tired and are you okay? You're the one who's going off and getting offended. Where is that coming from? Why are you offended? Okay, again, let's come from a place of love. Let's shine some love on this dark shadow and help it heal. Let's help reveal the light. Okay, well, when I was in primary school, I started to get acne, and one of the boys said that I had pimples on my face and I should wear makeup. And so ever since then I started wearing makeup, and then it's taken me this long to finally feel comfortable leaving the house without makeup on, and then somebody's pointed out how tired I look, and it's raised all those insecurities again from that time. It's taken me right back to that moment in year 6, and I feel all the feelings that I felt back then. And it's like, okay, cool. So now we can see that this is a deep-seated thing that you've held on to. This is a belief that you've held on to for all of these years. Now it might be time to let that go. Do you still believe that you need to wear makeup every day to cover your acne? No, I don't have acne anymore. Okay, so could it be just that, you know, Becky hasn't seen you without makeup before and she just doesn't know what you look like without it until now? Okay, and is it fair to say that being tired doesn't mean you're ugly? No, okay, I'm not ugly just because I'm tired. Okay, so did Becky say to your face you're an ugly beast? No. Okay, so then what's the problem? Like, oh, I guess there is no problem. I guess it's all just me and my insecurities. Like, Becky was just making an observation from her perspective, but she didn't mean to offend me. She would never just go out of her way to be like, oh, you look really ugly today. It's not about being ugly. It's about she thought you looked tired and she was just making an observation. And you've got to ask yourself, where does that anger and that resentment come from? Becky's a really lovely person. She doesn't mean to upset you. She's just saying some words, and you're the one who's taken that up to heart and you feel really offended. So that's your shadow. That's your shadow. It's always your shadow anytime it comes from a place of resentment, sadness, anger, fear. It's always your shadow coming forward to say, hey, here's a gift. Here's a puzzle to solve. Let's heal this. So look at it from that angle instead of looking at it from a place like, oh, why am I such a sook? Why am I so annoying? And the more we judge ourselves, the more we feel even worse, because it's like you're invalidating your own feelings, and your feelings are valid. So you need to validate yourself and validate that part of you that just wants to be loved. I always say this as an analogy. Has anyone seen that episode of The Simpsons where Bart Simpson has that twin brother in the basement? The family had a twin with Bart, put him in the basement because he was just like this really naughty, ugly version of Bart, and they locked him up and fed him fish heads for dinner because they didn't want him to be a part of the family. They didn't want to look at him. They just wanted him to be out of sight, out of mind, and to just get out of their way, essentially. That's how I see our shadow self. It is just this, and then, you know, you find out that this brother is actually really kind and gentle and sweet. Bart's actually the one that was the naughty one, and this one was just wanting to be loved and was locked away, so he went a little crazy. And I feel like that's symbolic for what our shadow is. It's like this part of us that just wants to be loved. It's just like this other half of us that's just there, and we haven't given it the time of day. We haven't given it that love and that attention and that nurturing and that support that it needs. And so sometimes it can be a little ugly. Sometimes it can be a little bit confronting or difficult to handle because we've pushed it down for so long. And it's karmic energy. Anything that we suppress will resurface at some point. So it's important that we really maintain our inner work with the shadow. Because when we maintain our shadow work and continuously look at that and shine love and light onto that, we really heal that, and we can show up in the world far more empowered and far more emotionally intelligent and far more fulfilled and happy, because our energy in motion, our emotion, has been able to release out of our body. It's not sitting in there manifesting anymore. There is no stagnant energy just building up all the time. So when you do go through a critical moment in life where something sad or traumatic happens to you, a relationship breakdown, someone hurts your feelings, someone passes away, you witness something really traumatic, any of those things, it's really important to allow yourself that space to really look at that and heal that, so that the shadow can let go of the emotional stagnant energy that it's been holding on to. It can work through the thoughts and feelings that it is having. That way they won't turn into negative actions and outcomes. We can do that through journaling about how we're feeling and really giving ourselves that safe space, that container of love, support, encouragement, forgiveness, understanding, to establish where this trigger stems from: childhood, early relationships, past life. It could even just be an aspect of your astrology chart that you're here to learn through. You can meditate and listen to your inner shadow, give your inner shadow a hug, tell them that everything is going to be okay, you're here for them now, and it's okay to let go of this. You can dance, you can sing, you can draw, you can get creative, you can have sex, you can go and do something fun. You can ask your shadow, what do you need from me and what can I do to help you heal? Oftentimes it's just a matter of really listening to yourself. And sometimes you might just want to lay in bed and eat ice cream and cry and watch movies and just chill out. Like, sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes it's good to write a letter to your inner shadow or from your inner shadow. Maybe you want to write a letter to someone who's hurt you in the past. Maybe you want to write a letter to your mum or your dad or your ex-boyfriend or your teacher or your best friend who stole your boyfriend, whatever it is. Like, you can write them a letter and you don't have to send it. You can just burn it. Like, you don't want to hurt people. You want to just get it out of your body, put it down on paper, and then you can burn it. And that is literally letting go of the energy that your shadow has been lingering with, like holding on to. So it's really, really important to do the inner work with the shadow, and it is something that you're going to have to continue doing for the rest of your life, on and on. It's not just something you do once and that's it. It's an ongoing process. We're always going to have challenges that come up in our lives, and if we can face those challenges, work through those challenges while they're still fresh in our mind, we can let go of them. Once you work with the shadow, you can clear so much old limiting beliefs and negative influences from your past that you can actually move forward with more success and more freedom and more motivation and energy and drive and self-belief. It's often that when we are afraid to take a chance or take a risk or do something different to what we've always done, that's when the shadow reveals itself. It's like, oh, I really want to leave my job, but I'm scared that I won't find a new one and that I will regret it and that I'll be stuck in this same miserable life forever and ever. So that's another shadow. Look at that. What does that mean? Why is that belief there? How has that served you? How has it limited you? How can you heal it? Can you forgive it? How can you forgive it? All of these things are so essential for our growth and for our inner health, our inner well-being, our external abundance. It's like clearing an old channel of energy that is stagnant so that you can invite in new empowering energies that support you and help you grow and help you evolve and help you learn and to try new things and to believe in yourself and have the confidence and the inner motivation and determination to take positive action. So that's what I've got for you today. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe so that you can never miss another episode and so that I can help reach as many people with these messages as possible. If you have any more questions, please comment below or hit me up on my socials. I have my accounts linked below, so go and follow me over on Instagram or Facebook. That's where you'll see most of my work. Thank you so much for watching. Love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.